and we're coming to you from the briefing room to talk leadership. And I am so fortunate today to have Michelle Hess. Here we go. And so we're going to dive right into our talking points today. So I gotta shake it up. I gotta loosen this up because I know this is this can be hard. So I have to ask you, hot dog, is it a sandwich?
It is definitely not a sandwich.
Really? Why?
I don't think so. I think, yeah, it's in its own category. Well, like a hamburger's not a sandwich.
Oh,
A hamburger is an actual entree, and I think the hot dog, you put them together, they're sold very similarly. So I just think it's that genre right out of the gate. I know we talked about this last
interesting.
month, but,
I don't know if you got it wrong, but good job. Okay,
I think I got it right.
Cereal, is it a soup?
No, but it can be a meal.
Okay.
I eat it for dinner a lot.
Yes.
It's my go-to when my husband's at work.
I think that's all my wife and kids eat when I'm not around making food is cereal.
It really is. So my son recently, funny story, he's like, I'm bringing home dinner. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Thanks for taking care of that, because he knew Dad was working. He came home and he set a box of cereal on the counter. He goes, I got dinner for us. I'm like, awesome. They know me.
Did he get milk though?
We had milk.
Okay.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
And then
you can't always guarantee, actually.
And I'm going to make a note because I want to come back to that point real quick with something you said. And then, what is your spirit animal?
Okay. People say that all the time, and my first instinct is a panda, but I think it's just because I love pandas and I love Kung Fu Panda. But really, in that movie, if I was looking, I'm actually that Master Shifu, like the turtle, that like is just everything's fine. It's not. I'm dying, but everything's fine. And so I think it's more of a character to embody, just like some wisdom and wanting to take people along the journey. And there's no right or wrong. Like, let's just go on the journey together. It's all good. Let's just do it.
You know, it's fascinating you said that, because you know, you think of like the what is it, I don't want to say parable, but the old story, what is it, the rabbit and the tortoise, what was it, the tortoise
and the hare.
The tortoise and the hare.
Also the one where like the fox is on the back of the frog or something. I feel like there's multiple stories, but
I do remember this one. So the tortoise and the hare, you know, it's fascinating. The tortoise wins a race, of course. Sorry if you've never read the book.
Yeah, sorry.
The kids are watching. But you know, what's interesting about that, when you said that, is the turtle or the tortoise is, I think, you know, when you think of the journey of leadership, you know, there's no quick fix in becoming a leader.
Yeah.
It's always a journey, and you're never good enough. You're never there. You always got to grow. And like, the minute you think you're there, we invent AI and you're not as good as you thought you were. So can you maybe talk about your journey of leadership? Like, you know, I think that's your leadership, Wes, you know, you're always giving back to other people to make them better leaders. What is your journey of leadership?
So we were just talking about that this morning. I was talking with a friend, and really, I think leadership is when you just go start doing. So for me, I think it was at home. I'm the oldest of 7 siblings, so a lot of it just falls on you anyways. You got to figure out
where
how
are you
to do
at?
I'm the oldest.
You said that. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's just hard when you are the oldest. You just kind of have to take the lead, whether you like it or not. So, having the youngest and I are just like 2 months short from 21 years apart from each other. But we're like some of the closest ones. And I don't know if it's just because of
motherly,
like,
maybe
he's starting his journey like now and like where I'm at. And I'm close to all my siblings, but there is something weird with that youngest. And people thought he was Mackenzie and I's kid, and wasn't. But so I think it was doing that first, and then at church, we were a really involved family in our church early on. And it's just trying all the different things. Like, well, I can do that. I can go clean the bathroom. I can go clean the pews. I can pick up the trash. And then you start doing other things. And it's almost like you're trying on a lot of different things. And I think those were where I really got to cut my teeth, was just trying what worked well. I really hit my peak at marching band as a teenager. I would just tell all those guys what to do, and they didn't know what to do. I was this little thing, 5'2" still, because I didn't grow past 8th grade. 100 pounds, and I'm just telling all these high school boys what to do. Like, get in line. You're not doing it. No, that sounds terrible. Just fix it. And these guys were like, okay, yes, ma'am. And I think I learned early in like high school, like, oh, like just say it with authority. They kind of know what you're doing. And I kind of rolled with that. And, and then just different jobs and different things. And in church and then our community. We moved out to the city of Buckeye. It was only the town of Buckeye back then when we moved out here. We were just giving back to the community. We were just doing our thing. He took over the charities. Bill had created the charities because it's usually a part of the fire department, the union side of the house. And so he took it over early on, and it was just kind of a natural piece for us that we started to just, help with Thanksgiving. Do people need meals? Help with the parades, like just doing stuff. And that was actually where somebody said to me, "Hey, have you ever thought about running for city council?" I was like, "No, I don't even know what that is or like what they do. What do they do?" And they're like, "I don't know. You should talk to one of them." Like, okay, well, I don't know. So I think leadership started really early, just out of necessity, and then grew into some other things, although I would say band was a necessity at the time, but yeah, I can't remember really a time, but I feel like that's really where I got my roots.
Yeah, it's not that this equates to what you're saying, but I like there's a book, it's a leadership book. It's like what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's almost like what got you there will get you there. Like it's like, you have to start
Partway there.
somewhere, and
Yeah,
but you have to know when you get there, you're gonna have to grow even more, right? Like so
yeah,
what got you there won't get you, what got you here won't get you there. It's like where do you grow and learn? But it's having that kind of mantra, having that
yeah,
mentality of like, I'll just do it. Let me try. Let me see what happens. And you always get maybe something good happens, you learn from it, you
yeah.
grow. Well, and you said that part of your journey too, though, you're like growing future leaders. Like, can you talk
Mhm.
about your kids? Like I was at Best of the West and your son got an amazing award, like
Yeah.
recognized. So talk about them for a second.
Thanks. Yeah, I feel like it always has to start at home.
Yeah.
Like, I've always thought about leadership. So we made the decision pretty early on that when the time came, and I didn't care when it happened. I didn't care if I was in my 30s, 40, whatever. I just knew I needed to be home with my kids. If we were going to have them, I wanted to raise them. That was just a conviction I had, because I wanted to raise them the way I wanted to raise them. And so I'm a really driven person and pretty ambitious. And so not only was it like a desire of my heart to do it, but it was hard. It was really hard taking the however many years that was that I was at home and to not have a title, not have a job, but I owned raising those kids the way that I would want to raise just little human beings.
Mhm.
And so they were out there serving with us. Like they were not above going and picking up trash
Mhm.
or serving a meal. Like they were no different. Like they there's no guarantee you will never be in a hardship or so I wanted them to see the world through our eyes. And so they came to everything with us, whether we were serving in Mexico, serving in Buckeye, serving in Phoenix. Like I wanted them to have a front row view of like who we were, what we did. And in fact, one of the things we did, we said, what are our family values? And like we love God and we serve others. Like that
Mm.
there was more, but it was like, no, we are servants and there's a lot to learn from serving people. You can lead, but you're gonna servant lead them.
Yeah.
And so I think our kids have just always had, no, that's not how we talk to people. No, like you have to have the hard conversation. And it's bit me a couple times. There have been, as you mentioned, my son, he's already beyond us leadership wise at his age. But I said something to him and I shouldn't have, like it was out of pocket. And he called me on it. And he goes, "No, I'm not gonna own that. Like there's no way all of that's on me." And I was like partially shocked, but then so deep down proud that he stopped me and was
Yeah.
like, "No, yes, this happened, but not to that extent. And I can't own that part. Like you need to figure." And it's just funny. Something else recently happened. And my husband goes, "If I talked to you that way, you'd slap me." And I'm like, "No, he was just being honest. Like, no, it's okay. Like he can have an
Yeah.
honest conversation with me." And he called and uh he just called me at the wrong time. I was like pumped about something. And he was like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna start this lesson up again." I'm like, "Yeah, you should." And it was just like, I know. That's why I did it. But I was like, "But you should."
Fired up.
I was so
Huh.
fired up. And he's like, "I know though. I was already." And so the comment was like, "Oh yeah, that time when," I said, "Oh, did you tell your dad about that thing?" He's like, "No, not yet, because I was really annoyed with you when we had that conversation that day." And my husband's like, "Oh, did you just say that to her?" And I was like, "What?" I was being annoying. I love that he can be that honest with me.
I love it. I think recently, I think my wife told me once, or told me like, is that how you talk to your airman? I'm like, dang, man, did I say it that bad? So even when I love when you're at home and it's like those lessons that you like, oh, I wouldn't do this at work. Wait, would I? Oh, trouble.
I would.
Well, maybe like more than a difficult one. What was the I know that you really, you valued and you appreciated being a city council member, and that was, you did a great job for 12 years.
Thanks.
What was it like, the conversations when you didn't get elected for a new term? I mean, even I've heard you say when we were at Leadership West, it was kind of like a struggle to learn, like, what am I going to do now? Like, I really like doing this. And you said at the beginning, you're like, I don't even know if I want to do this. And then you were committed to it. So what were those talks about? And maybe how did you feel like trying to, oh man, I lost. Now what do I do? Because you're committed to the community. It's your community. You live here. So, yeah.
So, I had the privilege of serving on the Buckeye City Council for almost 13 years. I was like 1 month shy. So
13. We round up, right?
Yeah, we got to just round it up.
13.
But who wants to say 13? I don't know. So in the beginning, it was always a scary thing when people said you should run. And I was like, but if I fail, this is a public fail. And that never went away. It did not matter. So that was 4, technically, I think, elections. And so there's this fear every time that if I do this, I could fail. And so the first time I didn't know I was going to run unopposed, I ended up running unopposed. And I tell everybody out there, that's the way to do it. But you still have to go out and you don't know. And so my predecessor passed away, and they were going to go through an appointment process. And so they said out of the gate, we're not going to appoint anybody that's in the running. And so they had, I think, 5 or 6 people that wanted the appointment. And then when the time came and I was the only name in the hat to actually run, got the signatures, do the thing, they're like, okay, we kind of reverse our decision. We're going to go ahead and go with the person that's going to run. So that was, I didn't know I was going to run unopposed. So that was just a huge leap of faith. We had prayed about it, felt like that was what the Lord was asking us. And so we did it. The next go around, I had a competitor. And that was really hard because it was somebody that was one of my biggest cheerleaders the time before. And in fact, I just talked to the person and they were like, oh yeah, anything I can help. You're amazing. You still have my endorsements, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 weeks later, out of nowhere, he's like running against me. I get a text message. Hey, don't be mad at me. I have to run against you. I'm going to run against you, or something like that. And I was like, what in the world? And so that was hard because I was running against somebody I knew. And it was just something that this person just wanted to do. And so that was hard. But then thank goodness at that time I won and I didn't have to face that failure. And then 2020 came around. I didn't even know if I was going to run again, but I'm like, prayed about it again, felt like we needed to run. Only candidate in 2020. 2020 was a really crazy world at that time. It was hard to lead through 2020 and try to do a campaign. So I can see why people didn't run. And then I had my election run in 2024. Again, somebody I knew, didn't know, I don't really know the person, just knew of the person. And that was hard. I think in your head, you always go, I could lose again. And I did. And that was hard. And it was that, that thing that you feared the most came upon you, and so it was I failed in front of everybody and everybody knows it. And it was by 37 votes for anybody that's counting, because counting is a lot of what you do in an election. And it was hard. It was really hard to swallow, but I think the transition was even harder. But what allowed me to sleep at night and to kind of process a little bit better is that I ran the race that I wanted to run. I ran it with integrity. I ran it, I've run Leadership West, the nonprofit, been doing that for 9 years. And I'm all about building people and building communities. And so I vowed I would not tear anybody down, whether I knew them or not. And so it's really hard to run a clean election, not tearing anybody down, not taking any shots at anybody in this day and age. I'm not saying that was part of the factor, but to me, I felt like the Lord was like, you can't do that. You have to run the race about you. And so for me, it was all about obedience and running like the values that I had. And so at the end of the day, if I still lost, but I still had my values, I still had my character, and I could look my kids in the eye because they walked with me. They were walking, knocking on doors. They were doing the things too. And so I just felt like I could really hold my head up high. I had served for 12 years, gave it everything I had for 12 years, above and beyond. And I ran the election the way that I felt like I could, the way I needed to, and with my values. And so even though it was a loss, it wasn't a loss because there was a whole lot more at stake. Had I given in and started to take away my value, that's where I think I really actually would have lost. So I think that was a really interesting lesson, is that the win and loss was actually how I ran the race, not the results of the race. And so that was really a huge lesson. And then usually the things we fear are never as bad as they are, so as much as, like, I lost, a lot of people lost in 2024. I was not the only one.
Yeah.
People lose. You don't always win, and that's okay. That was a huge lesson in humility. I think it was a huge lesson in, a lot of people took the time to tell me about the impact I'd made, and you don't really often get to see the impact. I can see a firehouse get opened. I can see a park get opened, and that's awesome. But to hear, wow, you always took my phone calls, or you never, you didn't always vote the way I wanted, but you always heard me out. Or I don't know what I'm going to do. You asked the best questions on the council, or whatever it was. Like, it was just amazing to hear the ways that I had impacted, or our family had impacted people. And that was really neat. And I think I would have had to wait another 4 years to maybe hear some of that. And you tend to take for granted what you're doing and why you're doing it when you don't get to hear that kind of feedback. So yeah, I think the transition was harder than the actual failure itself.
Well, that's powerful. We talked about, when we talked, you talked about transition, asking me. So how have you done transition? Like, what is it that, you always have to fill your cup somewhere. Like, I think it's interesting when you look at your household, you have a firefighter husband, you're a council member, you have kids that are in student government, like service is probably how you guys do things. So
Yeah.
that's a big missing piece now when that's gone. So what have you done to fill that? What does your transition look like when you've gone from that to now where you are right now?
Yeah. So I don't think people understand, because of the responsibility of the way that I owned it. Like, and I'm saying that this is a huge weight, but you weigh the weight of the city on you. You're available 24/7. And so I thought the best way to really honor my family in this last almost year is through rest. And so I was still doing Leadership West and had that job to do. And I was so grateful that I was still being able to invest in the future leaders, the current
I
leaders.
think we talked about it at Leadership West when after it had happened. So,
just being honest, like, because failure is going to be something you need to hear about. And I started talking to people that had gone before, whether they're termed out or they lost, or, I actually did talk to a lot of people. And one of the best advice that I got actually was, be prepared for your relationship changes, because some people are just transactional relationships. They're there while it's easy, and it's not because they're trying to get something out of but it's necessary. It's just like, oh, we're doing this thing, and this is just part of it. And then there's some people that were just here because of the proximity to the power. And so for me, that piece of advice really helped kind of set a different expectation as I moved forward. I've still continued to be shocked by some people that, like, either will take my call or won't take my call, but just that heads up of somebody that had gone before me, and gave me that advice of just like, hey, be prepared. You're a very relational person. That's something you value. So this is probably going to be something that shocks you. So I'm gonna go ahead and help you. And then how they invested back into their family. And so I think that's a lot of what it was investing back into myself, just allowing myself that time to rest, but also how can I serve back into my family? Like, there was a lot of sacrifices of, not making every game, not being at everything because I had a council meeting or something else. So it was really just taking that time to reinvest in the people that had really invested in me and allowed me to do the thing that I love to do for so long. And so I traveled. I took, I would say, 3 major trips this year. So we usually travel a couple times for the city council. You got to go to DC and lobby for things that you need in your city. And then you go every fall to, you have your local one, and then you have one out of state where you kind of get best practices. And so those and sports always dictated where we went. And so this was the first time in my life I'm like, where should I go? Where would I want to go? And so we got a call. We also celebrated. So 2024 was a crazy, crazy year. We had the election. My youngest was graduating high school. So it was like an end of an era, end of a season for that. My husband and I hit 25 years that year of marriage. And so it was just felt like a very overwhelming. And then we had a couple family diagnoses, and it was just a really odd year. So I felt like we needed to rest, but we needed to celebrate. We needed to honor the 12 years. We needed to honor, we got 3 kids through high school, and they're doing amazing. And we have 25 years of marriage, and we're still working, and it's still doing well. And so my sister gave me a call and said, hey, we found these really cheap flights to Australia. You guys want to come? And my husband and I have talked about that. So we're like, yeah, as Angela would say, bet, let's go. And so we went to Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. And then I had a friend invited me at the last minute to go to Italy. And then I had an opportunity to go to Ireland, and they all brought such different perspectives and different elements of rest and different ideas and refueling. I love adventure. For me, like, I just want to go on adventures. I really do feel like a little hobbit in that way. So so I kind of resonated with Hobbitown a little bit. I'm off on an adventure. And so I really loved filling my cup that way.
Yeah, Australia, that's awesome. That's like a bucket list item. That's so cool. But that's good that you did something like that. Like it. I, when we had everything that happened with our daughter, that was one of the things that we were like, how do you, something that's so important to you, like how do you make it still important though now that it's gone? And there's nothing like then, making a trip or doing something powerful that you can always talk about or remember. And so that helps, especially when you've done it for almost 13 years, like every year going on the same trip, and then it's not there. You're like, what do I do with this time? So
that was actually another piece of advice we got. So my husband is going to be retiring from the fire service in 5 years. And somebody had advised me, hey, this is a huge, significant deal for him. And they didn't know that they were actually giving me advice. So try to go somewhere immediately. There's got to be an immediate transition. There's got to be something signifying that this is a line in the sand. Something has changed. Something has happened. So we couldn't go on a big trip because when I was done, it was like in the middle of December. Where do you go in December? So we went on a little trip just to like make that delineation in the sand. So we went up north, and then I got to do my F-16 ride like the same week. Like, so Tuesday I was done, the 3rd, 5th I got to do my flight. And so to me, those were like huge, like, oh, this is a nice consolation prize. I can't do this anymore, but I got to go do a bucket list item, and I got to go travel. I
do think that, that you talked about the transactional relationships. It's very hard though, when you're in such an important position, and then you leave because someone fills that position. And so it's not that the relationships aren't there anymore. It's that the relationship, it was positional, and so they're still there. So I think it's like that in so many career fields, I think, where like you transition to a new job, or you transition, but someone takes your job, and then you're like, well, they're still doing the same phone calls. They're still doing everything you did, but it's just taking that out. I think the other part that maybe for your husband and for me was the uniform aspect of it. When you take that uniform off, you've worn it for so long. Like, I didn't even know the first event I went to in civilian clothes. I forgot to put my hand over my heart when the national anthem came on, and I'm standing at attention, and someone like, hey, you don't have to stand at attention anymore. You put your hand over your heart. I'm like, I didn't know what to do. I've always,
I talked about your hair. I'm like, oh, your hair's longer.
I'm like, oh, I don't have to get a haircut every Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like, it's so fun. I actually missed
every Tuesday you were getting haircuts.
I got a haircut every week.
Oh my gosh.
It was Wednesdays, and then it flipped to Tuesdays, but I had it every week. And it's always funny too, because like the Sam who cut my hair on bass, I miss talking to her. Like, she's such like, a great woman. And we would talk, like, she would ask me stuff about bass, and I'd help her out. Like, oh no, this is going on, or do this. I'm like, man, I haven't had those conversations in so long. But I'm like, oh, I only had them when I got my haircut, you know? So yeah.
I did hear a great reel recently about that. Like, this guy came in and did like a keynote, had a driver, they flew him out
Yeah.
like first class
Yeah.
and picked him up and do you need water? Do you,
Yeah.
can I get you a cup of
Yeah.
coffee and all these things. And then the next year he
Yeah.
got invited back and he had to fly coach and he had to
Yeah.
drive himself and he had to find his way back and then he had to get his own coffee. And he's like, yeah, the position was the
Yeah.
cup.
This
Like, it's going to keep going without you.
And I know exactly who tells that story because it's Siak Troxel.
I don't even person
Yeah,
is.
he's a senior enlisted advisor to the chairman. He talks
Ah,
about like going to this like defense meeting, and
yeah,
he went and it was like that, like everything's, and then the next time he goes, it was like, oh, I have to do this myself. I have to go get the
yeah,
coffee myself. There's nothing there, and he was
yeah,
doing the same speech at the same event, but it was like totally different. And I think it is funny though that there's so many people I know that have taken the uniform off and they don't know what to do. What's next? And I really made a cognizant effort over the last part of my career
yeah.
to be more about what I am out of the uniform than in, just because I didn't want to be known only for that. Like
Right.
I wanted more people to call me Jay or Bull than Chief. Like I think more people call me Chief now that I'm retired than before.
Yeah.
So
It was the same. I was
yeah,
like, I'm just Michelle. Like,
yeah,
hey, let's have a real conversation.
yeah,
And I think even with my kids in the position, it's like, I'm always like, okay, here, Lord, this is how I'm holding this. Like, I'm just stewarding it. They're not, it's the moment I start to go this, we've got a problem. And so whether it's my kids and I'm fearing or I'm, getting anxious or whatever, I'm trying to control their future, I'm always like, palms up.
yeah,
Palms up. And it's the same thing with the position. I have to be able to like let it go. It's a forever business. Military,
yeah.
civic government, it's a forever business. And you've got to keep reminding yourself this has to go on forever and you're not going to be able to do it forever.
And you can't look back at the person in your position and like judge how they're doing or see what, because it's
Totally
the world
different.
is so different. Like, yeah, like
Yeah.
the person that took my job, I want to be supportive for them to help
Mhm.
them do a good job. I want them to do a good job. I don't want to be like, I don't want to know what's going on base. But
Yeah.
the hard part is that you have relationships with all these people. You want
Well, and I
them to,
still live
yeah,
in the city, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
so I do kind of have to pay attention a
yeah.
little,
Oh,
but like not too much.
oh
And that
yeah.
has been a really fine balance of like, okay, I, I can't care as much about everything, but I do kind of have to know, are they going to increase water rates? Are they going to, because it's going to impact me?
So
So it's finding that balance
it,
of,
so how has this worked with Leadership West? Like what is what are you looking forward to in Leadership West? What's the next steps? And especially because
yeah.
there's such a symbiotic relationship when you
Mhm.
think city council member and then what you did with Leadership West. But now you're for all the municipalities in the West Valley helping
Yeah.
them out. So
Yeah.
what is next?
So part of it is just, I'm a consultant technically with Leadership West, and so really kind of activating what are some other things that I can do for other municipalities, other organizations. So how can I take trainings to other
Yeah.
organizations? How can I come into your organization and help create a leadership pipeline for your organization? But I am so passionate about we need leaders
Mhm.
so much more than we ever did. There seems to be a weird leadership gap. And so people that might have served longer, stayed in leadership positions longer, we're seeing those people just leave. Whether I'm just done,
Mhm.
I went through COVID, I went through all these things. I'm just not, it's not worth it. I want to go take care of my family. I want to go try something
Yeah.
different. So we're seeing an exit at the top, and then we're seeing people in the middle maybe not want to take those positions. And so then we're either elevating people quicker than they're actually ready to take the leadership, or people at the top don't know if they can keep hanging on. And so that's where I feel like our role is to how can we serve those leaders? How can we either help you get caught up quicker because you just took on a role that others might have taken 5 to 10 years to get to, and now you got there a lot quicker? How can we serve that? Or how can we keep serving the leader at the top to make sure that they stay in? Because we really do need good leaders at the top, because really people do not leave organizations because they don't like it. They leave leaders. And so I'm seeing that need so much more. And I think that's where not only Leadership West can continue to fill that gap, but also some consultant stuff. It's just like, how do we really serve the leaders who are serving so many others and keeping organizations running and intact?
Yeah, this is so great because you look at like with AI,
Mhm.
like the book we talked about earlier, "What got you here won't get you there."
Yeah.
You think of like I think it's so fascinating, like when it comes to leadership, because you always are trying to reinvent yourself. Like I know in one of the Simon Sinek books, you think about like Blockbuster, Blockbuster was highly successful. I still remember my family going there every Friday. We'd go get our movie watch a movie on the weekend. And it was like, it seemed like overnight Blockbuster went from like top of their game to, wait, what's Netflix?
It was pretty fast.
What's this thing? You can get a little paper CD, DVD in the mail, and like they'll mail you.
Redbox.
I don't have to go in. Yeah, Redbox.
Redbox, yeah.
And then you think Redbox now has gone to Netflix, right? And I think, how do you look at your talent management? How do you look at strategic development? Because your business model could be successful, your city model could be successful, but is it going to be successful when COVID hits? Is it going to be successful when AI hits? It's going to be successful when X hits that you're not prepared for. And I think that's the struggle, is like, we don't train our replacements good enough. We don't take talent and take them from A to Z. We take talent and go A to B, and then, okay, the rest is on you,
Yeah.
Or we don't take an electrician or a water resource, engineer and make them the city manager. Right. And how good would that person have been if they went through the wickets of like, or, another thing in the military, it's a big thing, is like, I have this guy that's really good at finance, or I have this guy that's really good at security, or I have this guy that's really good at maintenance, but they don't know anything about the other two.
Yeah.
Hey, but they know leadership. So why don't I take the maintenance guy, put him in security, take the security guy and put him in finance, and go lead and learn about the other things. But you're like, no, you can't do that. That's that's against the grain. That's against the model. Well, if leadership's no different no matter where you go, but I need them to get some tactical expertise or some subject matter expertise, and we don't think about it like that.
I think that's one of the winning elements of Leadership West, even because you go to a chamber or other places and you kind of only see military or just entrepreneurs, and it's really nice to get a cohort that's such a mixture of all different industries and different areas and of their trajectory and their leadership. And so we're learning not only from each other, because your industry is not my industry. How would you do it? But we're also learning because, okay, you're just getting your start. Let me help you pass 3 steps. Or, like my friend had been through the transition before, and they just had some advice. So I love the cohort model that we provide in Leadership West.
Oh, yeah.
And I even keep thinking, like, how can we do that? Like even executive coaching or things like that. How can we learn? Because there's so much to be learned from other people's stories. And in fact, that's why we're doing, even this podcast, is there's learning from your stories, learning from my story, that so many people learn that way rather than just in a book or steps or the how-to. I'm not an IKEA learner. I can't go I want to hear you.
You want to know someone had maybe done it, been through the same thing, and they can talk to you about it. But I think a lot of times, like in leadership and some of these journeys, like people are just scared to ask.
Yeah.
But if you put a coach moniker on there or consultant, they're willing to ask you because, that's your job. But
or be honest.
Yeah.
Like, let me just be fully transparent. Tell you all the things instead of some of the things.
And you're outside, you're the chaplain, so I can tell you anything and you won't tell anybody. Like you're sworn to secrecy. I just need you to tell me. But it's not hard. Like, hey, just ask the question. Like, we're here to help. People are here to help. So, maybe then talk about and I guess wrapping up and closing, what are some goals that you have for your next chapter in your life, or where we're going with consultant leadership, strategic development, talent management?
I think what I heard from a lot of the schools, and I think this mirrors a lot of organizations, is before COVID, we were doing relationship and community really, really well. And we had built up all the, the high-low, Maslow's hierarchy. Thank you. And when COVID went, that was you basically took it all down. You went down to the basics. And that is a piece I don't see that has still gone.
Bread and water. That's all we need to survive.
Yeah. And they've put pieces back. Like we got kids in the classroom. We got, the communities moving. But I feel like that human piece of how am I developing you? How am I developing in the community? Like that piece hasn't quite been put back together. And so I see that's our part is, again, how do we put that piece back together in the organization? Because people will hang on for a while, but there are too many leadership positions available right now that, you could have trained your replacement, but now maybe your replacement didn't stay here. Like maybe they went somewhere. And so I don't feel like there's as many leaders. So I think it's my job, our job is how do we build back up that leadership pipeline to show people it's worth it. To show people that community's worth it. These cities that we live in, these organizations that we're part of, it's worth it. And so how do we get people excited about that piece and kind of finding that serving others, the back to that servant leadership, because I think COVID taught us to kind of look a little bit more in, and we need to go back out and
Yeah.
look at how does this affect
You know
others,
it's
you know?
you know it's impactful when 5 years later we're still having repercussions, like
Yeah.
the when they throw the walk in the water and the ripples go, it's like the ripples aren't as wide or as deep, but they're still
Yeah.
coming, they're still there, they're still moving in. You think about, like, even in, you think young people, like, or people that maybe started in your company, in a company, they came during that time. So they,
Mhm.
the onboarding, was it the same, or
Yeah.
how we transitioned in the growth of leadership, it's they learn that way. We have to actually teach them good ways, not go back to the bad ways. So it's a
We
very
have
good
this
point.
gap,
Yeah.
right? So we have these kindergartens that came in
Yeah.
at 2020. We have these high schoolers that
Yeah.
came in at 2020, college students. And it was interesting. I had a college
Yeah.
student in like her freshman year happened 2020.
Wow.
My youngest, his
Yeah.
freshman year was 20. So it was kind of interesting to see how it
Yeah.
impacted those two differently. It really was. Even though when one was doing high school and one was doing college, it still impacted them
Yep.
in different ways, but yet the same. And
It's
and we're seeing that effect
no,
still.
it's a great comment, and I think something, anytime you have a traumatic event,
Yeah,
it
because that's what
doesn't
it
matter
was.
if the event's gone. It doesn't matter if we've
Mhm,
even fixed the event.
mhm.
You still start at that point. You still go back to it. Like, I can't tell you how many times I talked to someone in the military about something bad that happened, and you would think it happened to them, and they're like, "Oh, no, no, it happened to someone I know," or like, "Oh, no, no, like, this is what I think would happen." And you're like,
Yeah,
"Why are you still talking about it? Let's move on it." But
yeah,
if they feel so strongly about now, COVID, that was that event for people. This is where they're always gonna go back to, and, like, the minute someone doesn't show them a good relationship or someone doesn't invest in them, they're like, "Oh, back to COVID," you know? And so you have to, like, reteach people. You have to show them the right way, and you have to make it so hard, get it ingrained so deep that
yeah.
they don't think about that one bad event, 'cause they're all think about it. They still talk about it, so wow.
And they
Yeah.
were all looking for community, going back
Yeah.
to that piece again. How do we find my tribe?
Yeah.
And so, like, the senior, since she was leaving
Yeah.
getting ready to leave a tribe and go
Yep.
find another one, she was in that weird middle
Mhm.
spot, and so they relied really heavily on the 6 or 7 that was in the youth group. So we
Yep.
did hikes and had them we did different things, but and then the youngest, it was the same thing. Had if we didn't have
Yeah.
that baseball team, we were still doing life together.
Yeah.
I don't know how this would have looked because he was just going with them. They were all kind of going
Mhm.
together. And this other group, it was kind of like some are going to go just work, and so it's really interesting.
Yeah.
But it all came down to who had the community around them and who didn't, and so it was just so telling of like if I can create a community for these leaders,
Yep.
whether it's a small executive coaching group or, Leadership West or trainings, like that's what it's about. I'm gonna cheer you on and I'm gonna help you get to the next place, but we're going together.
I like that you did the 6, 7 with one hand. 6 or 7, yeah, but sorry. Sorry, guys, it's just everybody has kids now, and we all know.
That's
I
somebody just did it at a
yeah,
wedding. They somehow figured out how to put it in the father of the bride
yeah,
speech. I was like, "Wow,
I wanna
good for you."
anytime I see 6, 7, I wanna, like, start, like, I don't know if it was Eminem or whoever was like, 1, 2, 3 into the 4, like, I wanna, like, find a way to, like, convert the 6, 7 to something else, but we'll see. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for being on the podcast. Thanks for having this discussion. It's great. We're looking for just ways to help people get better, like what you're talking
Yeah.
about today. Like, can we give someone another chess piece on their board to help them get to overcome or to get better at what they do? And so I think this was really cool. Uh, Look forward to more talks.
Yeah, we look excited about the future and
Yeah.
other leaders and hearing their lessons. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, audience, and look forward to the next briefing at the briefing room. Have a good one.